Okay, we are back. I've been in the wars because I've just had my wisdom teeth taken out. But feeling better. We're back. It's been a bit of a war zone, but we're good now. And yeah, here for another week of latest stuff happening in the MCP and agent discovery ecosystem. Loads to cover. We've had 2 weeks to kind of go through. I think main things that we wanted to touch on are huge amount of app growth, and we're seeing another round of just really big apps and brands that are now present. We also want to cover multi-auth in ChatGPT, and Claude has just 3 days ago launched observability, which is amazing because you can now, for the first time ever, actually see more data and insights in a dashboard internally in Claude on your connector. We've got an awesome update from Fractal and Han today on their new SDK, which is launching very soon. And we are tracking, obviously, everything happening on the MCP app discovery side. And we're seeing a ton of interesting data on organic. So we're going to cover all of that today. And Han, how have you been? Hopefully better than I've been over the last couple of weeks.
I am doing great, and it's so nice to have you back. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. I mean, I've had my other two wisdom teeth taken out, but this time was much worse. I sent you a photo, but like I'll spare the audience. But basically, my face was slightly like snooker ball like on one side, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, back to it now, and I'm in London, which is super nice. Weather's been amazing, so it's been great to be here. How's stuff in SF?
Things are going well. I'm actually going to go to the same time zone. I'm going to Norway
Oh wow,
this Sunday, so we'll be
so
in the
cool.
same time zone
Yeah,
soon.
great. Great
Yeah,
and amazing time to go to Norway as well. I mean, it'll be light nearly 24 hours a day, I think, at this point,
yeah.
which would be cool to see.
So we have 2 weeks to update our audience now. How is the App Store going in the last two
We
weeks?
do. Yep, let's get it up. So I will share my screen, and we are. I mean, one thing that's just very clear, every time that we share this tracker, ChatGPT is just on a completely upwards trajectory, and they have drastically improved their approval process. So we are the 18th of the 6th. If I go back to what are we about be about? Let's call it like 16 or something like this. We've seen another sort of what are we, 300-ish, 350 connectors or apps appear since we last spoke, which is really cool. The other thing that we have also seen is that Claude has started to ramp up again. So they were sort of doing like one or two, but actually we've seen 26 in the last week. And if we kind of go through some recent additions, we can see some, interesting apps. You've got TomTom going live, SizeGPT, and I mean, I saw Webflow is another big one on the ChatGPT app side, and we also had Lovable and Replit for Claude, which is also interesting because there is definitely an element of competition here as well. And I think they are looking to kind of get into like there is naturally this battle happening, which everyone is talking about, which is, is Claude going to just be coming for the no code space? But they are allowing these integrations in and have clearly sort of maybe made an internal decision because both of them have gone live on the same day. So clearly they've been like waiting to get approved. Another one that I thought was really interesting is that BMW has gone live. I'll
Wow.
try and find that. And that's really cool because the automotive space in general is a large category in ChatGPT. But what's interesting about BMW going live is it's the first actual direct automotive company rather than a broker or a marketplace or anything like that. In addition, we also had Free2move go live as well. So there we go. BMW and Free2move should be here. Free2move, for anyone that doesn't know, is in the Stellantis owned company, but they are a kind of like sixth, I think they're called. Effectively, you can just rent a car, and very popular across Europe and also increasingly in the US.
But I feel like it's still like pretty concentrated on some areas. Like for example, travel seems to be very popular. I can see like how, when a company see like the competitors having an app, they don't want to miss out. They don't want like all this traffic to go to the competitor. So it's like a forcing function for them to, yeah. So travel is definitely still on the top
Yeah.
three.
Yeah.
Data
The only
analytics and
reason that's so
finance
high, I
very
think, like,
obvious.
these are high because of Claude. So like if you do like just ChatGPT, travel and hospitality is the top. And
And
actually
commerce
like
is the
finance,
different.
interesting, but commerce. Hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it really depends on the audience of these tools because Claude is definitely more productivity focused and ChatGPT is more consumer focused.
Yeah. Yeah,
We
exactly.
seen like several of customers getting approved in the last 2 weeks since we last talked. So definitely like the momentum to approving the app has increased a bunch.
Yeah, definitely. And it is interesting to kind of see the balance between the two, right? You got travel and hospitality being top commerce, and then Claude, it's a huge amount of data analytics, productivity, also finance, but nothing on the consumer side really. You got a little
Yeah,
bit
no
that's
commerce.
happening. Yeah, like in comparison, right? 4.1% compared to but what we are seeing, by the way, and we see this from our data, I can quickly just show you the kind of the hotel booking category. This is organic discoverability of that category. We have seen since we last spoken a couple of new connectors that appear like in this category, for example, and are immediately ranking. Otto the Agent, for example, is one of them. So they are actually doing quite well for organic discovery. So yeah, quite good also to see that you can launch a connector, go live, and do the right optimization tactic, and you can immediately start to rank for some of these organic queries, which has been something that we've been seeing over the last weeks as well.
Yeah.
Very good. So I think you had a thought around auth that you want to share, which I think is amazing because auth is a really big deal for enterprises. It's also something that companies really need to, or they do think a lot about, generally with onboarding. And we talk about this a lot with our customers. How do you create a good experience where you can sort of onboard some users through without auth, but then authenticate others that might have an account, or move people from a free onto a paid tier. But I know you've been looking at some of the observations within in ChatGPT and have a bit of an update there.
Yeah, I guess like a month ago we have a customer that wanted to do mixed auth. He wanted like some having some free tools for user to use for discovery, and then some tools that require authentication so that these people have to be on a subscription plan, so that he can monetize his app. And we couldn't do that because like even if you declare your app as a mixed auth, when you add it onto ChatGPT, it require you to authenticate, and that's like that
Mhm.
ruined the whole point of having mixed auth. Like if the user have to authenticate anyway, like why you even have the tools that doesn't require authentication? But yesterday when I check out like some of these apps like Instacart, Figma, I saw a change. ChatGPT now support mixed auth, and let me see if I can share a screen here, so our viewer knows what I'm talking about. Let me share screen really quick.
Mhm.
So this is my ChatGPT, and say if I wanted to install an app, let's see, add more. Say this is Figma. Before, like there's only one button. If you have a app that have mixed auth, there's only one button that is to forcing you to sign in. But now I see that there are two buttons now you can use without an account, or you can sign in. This is very convenient because if you wanted to use ChatGPT for growth, people may not want to sign in immediately if they do not know what value that your app is going to provide. They probably want to use it without creating an account first, and then if they really like the app, then you can have a few tools that force the user to sign in only. So I think this is great news for us that wanted to monetize and taking advantage of ChatGPT distribution. You can have some of the tools that doesn't require logging in, so that it's better for discovery. People, less friction when people want to use it, and we only like sell people for something that is a pay plan when they already like the app and got some value from it. So I think this is like a great addition. I actually don't know when they have it. It's probably like within the last month. But that is very, very good news for us who wanted to use ChatGPT and wanted a clear monetization path for their app.
100%. Yeah, and yeah, like I was saying, it's really important from an enterprise perspective because you don't want to guard everything behind an auth, ideally. And actually, one of our customers is actively working on this at the moment, making sure that they have that free tier to then upgrade or allow the users to just kind of like generally access the platform. And like you said, I think the discovery point is really, really important. When organic gets turned on for ChatGPT, if you are someone that has to authenticate and you go through that process to then go and use the app, you might have a drop off, right? So if you're going to actually get surfaced organically and then you can kind of click in and just easily use it, you might win that query. If there's multiple connectors and you have an authentication, someone might click on that and go, oh, I don't want to authenticate, then click on another one and go through and use that connector instead or that app instead. So it's well worth thinking about, particularly for net new users. How do you smoothly onboard them? So it's great that they've got this kind of feature. Do you have another point on that?
Oh, I think that right now, like obviously, like we have some customer that already got their app approved, and they haven't seen like a lot of organic discovery yet. But we do see organic discovery in Claude, so I think it's just a matter of time until like the discovery come in. So I would say that if someone have an app and you see that, oh, like there's no traffic yet, like I would say like just be patient a little bit, because we know like these companies are extremely competitive with each other. So we would see some parity there. So just patience if you don't see the traffic right away.
Yeah, 100%. And for those that maybe are new to listening to these updates or new to kind of what's going on with discovery, like Han said, organic is live in Claude. If you prompt today in Claude, it can choose to surface connectors without having ever connected one before. So that's really great to see. That happens across all types of accounts, free, paid, and all types of prompts. Every single connector can surface, organically. We're seeing that as we've run tens of thousands of prompts against every connector and have data against it. And as Hans said, we can expect something similar to happen in ChatGPT. Last time we did this recording, we actually saw that you can now, within ChatGPT, if you have multiple apps connected, actually have apps just organically get chosen out of the ones that you have connected. And so let's say you have a load of travel apps connected, it is going to decide which one it wants to show based on your intent. And so obviously they then decide it's an easier selection process because they only have to use the ones that you have connected to, but nonetheless they have an internal decision making as to which ones they want to select out of the ones that you have connected. And it's a matter of time, I think, until they kind of roll that out more broadly. And to be honest, it's I think, in my opinion, critical for the ecosystem. This ecosystem will only you only get a third party ecosystem to thrive if people get users and can make money. So how do you make money? Well, either directly through monetization or by actually getting traffic to your app. That is not going to happen if it's just an app store, right? It needs to be kind of more sophisticated than that. So I think it's a matter of time till that happens. And
I
actually,
wanted, yeah,
yeah,
go ahead.
no, you go.
I wanted to add something on top of that too, is that the fact that, like if you have an app installed and ChatGPT is going to use that app, if you have an app now, like you have a huge advantage, right? Say like if you have an app before your competitor does, and your customer already installed your app, ChatGPT is just going to use that app. Like the user have no incentive to go in and like install your competitor's app. Like it's such a big fiction for someone to like unless you're like not doing really well, otherwise people were not going to go and look for other apps, which means that if like the sooner you have the app, the more advantage that you accumulate. And
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
both
Yeah.
taking consulting customers. So if anyone wanted, to build an app, like I feel like the sooner you build, the better. And like feel free to talk to us if you wanted to build your app.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And actually, on this point around kind of traffic, one thing that's really good to see is that people that are having Claude connectors are getting a serious amount of traffic right now. And
Yes.
as a platform, they're just doing very, very well. I think there's a couple of reasons for that. One, the App Store is more concentrated. Two, they actually have just far better tool calling, and they have a lot of strong alignment with the users that understand connectors and it being a knowledge work platform. ChatGPT doesn't necessarily have that as much because it's used a little bit less for knowledge work, and then customers just as a general consumer have no idea what a connector is. So there's less alignment there. But one thing that Claude released, which is very cool, is that they have just launched Claude Connector Observability. So this basically allows for the first time ever you to track these metrics, and you can actually see that a connector has been published. You can see the core metrics on it rank. So this is actually your overall rank across the whole Claude ecosystem: number of active users, tool calls, error rate, and latency. And then actually the latency here, and then you can actually see the split across the last 7 days across the different products as well. So that allows you to basically just have data on, okay, where am I getting the usage from? You can expect, for example, dev tools, right? You're going to be more within Claude Code, and vice versa for more kind of like consumer-led products. And this is all really, really important data. So, all of these components are going to be important for, like they're ranking your app for a reason. There is a component to discovery that is the rank. We're seeing that. And then there is, in addition, obviously, if you're having a huge amount of tool calls, that's obviously great traffic. If you have low latency, low error rates, that's also better because your performance is better. That leads to improved ratings and things like this when those might come to the store. So you definitely want to really be tracking this. And actually, I'll also share, I saw a really good post from Manufact on this, on observability going live. Yeah, Pietro, yeah, actually said, yeah, so they've had their connector live for a little bit, I think, and they've seen a 10x jump in their usage. So just by having a connector live, the MCP has jumped by 10x. So that shows you
Yeah.
just the power of this as a distribution channel, and that's without organic. So they're not optimizing for organic yet. They're not like that. That will still need to come, and they're still getting that much usage. You can imagine once they also optimize for organic as well. So it's really, really cool to see. And actually, they also shared a blog post. So if you click into this blog post, what you can also see is they actually share sort of like because those, like, we've seen it on our one of our customer side, but it's also nice to just see it. Like, this is what it looks like from an actual customer angle rather than kind of like a mock up. So yeah, you can see these different metrics and ranks and everything, which is awesome. So yeah, I think a great release, and it's just good that Anthropic is releasing more of this data natively, just to give more visibility to people. And if you compare that to what ChatGPT gives at the moment, which is literally just like a couple of status symbols, it's great that yeah, we're moving in this kind of direction.
I bet that there are more traffic from Claude than ChatGPT. I think that when ChatGPT start giving people like organic traffic and organic discovery, we will see them launch something similar. But it's nice to see like what are important for app ranking, right? I think that all of these are signal, right? Like latency is extremely important. So I keep when I work with a customer, I always tell them it's like you need to design your API around your user scenario and not designing the MCP apps around your API, because the user will be asking something, and then imagine instead of using one tool, you have to use like multiple tools to complete that transactions. your latency is going to be really, really big. Um, and like that would have an influence on how much your app get ranked, and also error too. Like I think that is like the biggest problem we see with people trying to build for like traditional software and do not know how to build for these AI agents. You do not know, like you're, or like it's not like you do not know, but you don't have, you're not used to like controlling how the agent are going to use your tools, and therefore the agent using your tool incorrectly, and that give you like unexpected error. So I think that that is something extremely important for people when you build this app, is to understand how the agent are going to use your tools, and what scenario that the user are going to use your tools, so that you can design everything like efficiently and have like low error rate, and low latency.
100%. And yeah, um, yeah, like you said, they give these points for a reason, these data points for a reason.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's important for a user, right? They want to rank on the things that matter most for users. You don't want to wait. You don't want errors. So you need to learn how to test properly. You need to test live in the client. You need to make sure that all of these things are improving over time. And yeah, that will be part of the ranking. The other part is you've got to track the prompts that are important to you, and you need to optimize your MCP server to make sure that you are appearing better for those prompts. Then you need to measure whether or not that's improved, and then continue that optimization cycle, very similar to like App Store optimization within mobile. But yeah, great that Claude has that.
Yeah, and I think that those two like also implement like complement each other too, because understanding what the user is searching for also help you designing the tools better with lower latency, lower error rate.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Um, and you've been busy on a new
Yes,
SDK, so
yes,
should we get into that?
yes. So I think like 2 weeks ago we talked a little bit about like generative UI, right? So
Hmm.
we tested that out with some of the users. We have some people like private message me and it's like, oh, I'm interested. I want to play with it. Um, And now that we see that, like ChatGPT and Claude supporting generative UI, we're launching an SDK now to support, I think, two important scenarios that we support, which is generative UI, and second is like allowing the agent to drive the UI. So, like, I don't know if you're familiar with Excalibur app. Like you can see that, as you continue talking to the agent, like the screen get redrawn. And we have like a lot of requests for people. It's like, oh, like how can I do that? So we added we created this SDK to make it easy for people if they wanted to build something similar to that. The SDK is built upon Skybridge. We use Skybridge for our agent for Fractal. But like we obviously like love it, but we see that some of these scenario that Skybridge has not supported that, so we build on top of that, and that's our opinion on how like MCP apps is going towards. We don't know how the app are going to implement these, but I think that the space is moving really fast, and there's like a lot of requests on like, oh, like how how I, how is the potential for something like this, like the UI is so rigid, that's why it's not doable. The UI, yeah, there's so many comments about how the UI is so rigid, so this SDK is like our showcase for like showing people that, hey, like the the protocol is so flexible. There's a way for you to implement this so that the UI is not rigid. There's a way for you to implement this so that the UI is more interactive. So we're very excited that we're going to launch the SDK publicly. I think probably like in the next couple of days for people to play with. And
Awesome.
obviously, please give us feedback. We also have a client to go with it. Um, if people wanted to test it without, like adding and like re-adding to ChatGPT just to see what it looks like. Um, yeah. So that is exciting. Oh, and we
Amazing.
also have like a CLI and a skill that come with it. So that if you just add it to Codex, Codex would already know what to do. You don't have to instruct it on how to create all these generative UI apps.
Yeah, so good. Really, really needed. And I think it's definitely the direction I think a lot of us are seeing this space go, particularly those that are kind of deeper in the space that have seen a lot of these applications and understood the limitations and have worked with kind of whether it's SMEs or enterprises. Um, you know, agents are going to need a more dynamic optionality to be able to decide what to show to users. And yeah, I think it's great that there's now an SDK that can kind of support that more intuitively and more easily. So yeah, honestly, just super excited to test it and yeah, see if it could be something that we use for some of our clients as well.
Yeah, and if you guys have any like example of like your clients saying that, hey, like this is too rigid, like I want the UI to be more flexible, like we would love to test it to see if this SDK solve your problem.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we have one enterprise customer in the data space, and I think for that use case, 100%, as you're drafting diagrams or visuals and that side of things, obviously generative plays a huge role in that. And particularly when you have complex data sets and there's many ways that you can best choose to represent something, it definitely plays a role there. And obviously what we want in future is, you could take a data source from one app and a data source from an app and then source it together within, one screen. And you're sort of starting to see how ChatGPT is trying to do that. We saw last week or last time, two apps surfacing for one intent, which is cool. And
Yeah.
so, actually having that merged together with generative UI and it be shown in one screen, is a much better experience than seeing these kind of like two disjointed apps for one overall experience. One other thought is that I do think that the industry is quite limited almost in its thought of how creative this could be. To be honest,
Yeah,
like
100%.
it's just you. I think people should look at Landog. It's a cool product, and they've been very creative in terms of what could an interactive UI experience really look like. And it's just so much better than an iframe, like it's just a very fixed, like square iframe. So anyway, I've no doubt we'll move in that direction, and great to hear that you've got kind of an SDK that is part of the way to get us there.
Yeah, yeah, I'm excited to show everyone. We also use like internally we use like Codex to drive our agents a lot, and we see that this whole like MCP and tool calling is moving from like I just gonna give an example. Like say like the customer wouldn't be like asking, hey, find me a flight, find me a hotel, find me what to do. They will be like, plan my travel for me, and within that one
Hmm.
prompt, the agent is going to find flight, find hotels. So you see more of that. I think that is what we are heading toward now. You can send ChatGPT and Codex and Cloud like something more abstract, and they would be able to like break that down into like smaller tasks, and then each of these smaller tasks they're using a tool. So it's very very interesting to see how this is moving forward.
Yeah, 100%. And then, unless you had anything else on that, I was then thinking I could give a little bit of an update as to what we have also had as on the discovery side, because honestly, there's just like a ton of interesting stuff that's happening. It's worth saying with the SDK and the docs, all of that stuff will be included in the comments as soon as it's live, probably next week. But maybe by the time it's gone out, we
Yeah,
will have it
probably.
live.
Yeah.
So maybe it's gonna be live anyway. So a couple of interesting things to share just on the organic side. So as we know, Claude Connector Organic is live, and that means that when you have a prompt, you can, like, any user anywhere in the world could put in a prompt, and it will organically surface a connection picker, and that's an additional traffic that can now come to a Claude connector. That means that for the first time ever, you can have your product organically being used after a user's intent. Now, we have got our agent discovery platform, and basically what we're doing is we're helping companies to allow them to understand how are they appearing and then begin to actually optimize to improve their ranking. And so we're in private beta at the moment. We've already got a number of Claude connectors on board, and we're actively tracking their prompts now. So what you see here is I went through, I think in another video, this is a category view. So what we do is we kind of just create like a category prompt set, and we track those prompts every day. And so we can see against the rest of your competitors, how are you doing? But the more interesting thing, for anyone is to actually see that for your specific prompts that you really care about. But nonetheless, it's interesting to kind of track your category. And actually we have that for every single category in the connector store. And that's just a subsection. There's much more kind of data behind the scenes. But why I share that is because we're already seeing some really, really interesting data in terms of like some people that are actually getting traffic from these connectors. And in addition, just ways and proof points to optimize to actually improve rankings. So it's still very early, but it's very exciting because I think something that we're seeing is that there is kind of clear proof that, we have a good signal as to which optimization surfaces you need to be optimizing. And the fact that when you optimize them, there are, increased rankings, increased connections that then come off the back of that. So still very early for the ecosystem, but really, really good to see that. And kind of lots of interest for companies to learn more, which is cool. Something else I would say is like we touched on it earlier, but it'll be awesome when ChatGPT rolls this out. We don't know. Something that I would say is I do think they have some stuff to think about, which is much more complex than Claude does in some ways. So I think ads add a lot of complexity because you don't want these apps to feel like an ad, and users don't know what these apps are, but they do know that there are ads. So there's just this kind of like backlash potential when they need to figure out that experience. But I have no doubt that they will. It's in their incentive to build out this third-party ecosystem. And frankly, there are just like many ways that you can make it feel more kind of like intuitive, exactly like apps are today, actually. And I think it's all to do with kind of like sponsored tagging and other ways that Google has kind of managed to do the same thing with its blue links. But yeah, nonetheless, hopefully we see that happening. And actually my prediction is that now with the integration of Codex into ChatGPT, it will mean that the tool calling is much better. It will mean the app experience is much better. It'll mean that the discovery is much better because they can actually far better be able to kind of like, analyze their catalog and decide which apps they want to surface. So you allow for basically just better functionality of organic discoverability. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Codex and then it comes sort of at some point after that.
Yeah, I do see that Cloud because they're serving customer who are more like technical. It's probably easier for this customer to understand these versus like ChatGPT users. I would say most ChatGPT users are not technical. So it's become, I think that they have like a harder time integrating these onto ChatGPT. But you can see like a lot of these are already in Codex, so we know that it's coming. It's probably just them being super careful about, not pissing off like the customers who are not technical. I also see that, like, I think just like in the last 2 weeks, I see like ChatGPT app has been like so much better at tool calling. So maybe something in the background has improved, or maybe like they already swap out the harness to Codex, even though it's not like labeled as Codex, but the tool calling has been improved significantly. Before, like, I can only call one tool at a time, and now it's allowed tool chaining, which is something that I was like, wait, like why ChatGPT doesn't have it? So now I'm glad that ChatGPT have it now.
Yeah.
And I think that, I read like some of these stats that it's like the entire user base of Claude is like ChatGPT app like takes its user base.
Yeah.
So imagine all these apps like having so much traffic on Claude. Like I can't even imagine
No,
like
it'd be
one
crazy.
ChatGPT like open the floodgate, like how much traffic people are going to get. It's like I think 1.2 billion. Oh no, it's like 1 billion visitors a month now for ChatGPT, and there's like 1,000 apps or like what, like 1,700 apps that are
Yeah,
on the App
17.
Store right now. Like the ratio of like traffic to apps is just like insanely high.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
There's
so
a,
so I
there-
think
there's nearly a billion users. Like,
yeah, a billion users
like,
with like 1,000 apps, you can see like
yeah.
how insane opportunity it is. Um,
100%. Yeah, it'll completely change the ecosystem. So, fingers crossed we see that at some point soon. And I think they know they need to get it right. And there's a lot of pressure there. And they need ad revenue, right? They are like
yeah.
completely upside down from a financial perspective. Another note, their financial reports got leaked and they're not looking good.
Oh
So there's some question
wow.
marks on there. But I mean they've got good revenue, right? But you know, naturally there are question marks in terms of just how much they're spending. But um, I think the upside on the AI market is huge, but it is interesting because obviously they're going for IPO, so they need to be good like now, and they need to present that story. So that's kind of why it's
Yeah.
it's, it's interesting in terms of just like timing and how they're going to tell that narrative. But I will any Claude connector can sign up to the agent discoverability.com platform. You can see how you're appearing, you can see how you're ranking versus your competitors. So I'll drop a link to our website in the comments, and if you want you can just reach out directly as well, and we can start getting you set up so you can actually understand how you're appearing and begin to optimize for that. And I think that's everything.
Yeah.
I think that's everything.
Oh, and then if you wanted to build an apps and like feel free to reach out to either one of us to talk, because I think app design is like extremely important on how you want it to get like faster latency, and also just less error, more keywords targeting toward your prompts.
Yeah, yeah, 100%, 100%. Always here to answer questions, help with build, things like this. So for sure. We'll drop links to everything we mentioned in the comments. And yeah, we'll catch you next time.